Hi, my name is Tara with Happy Bellies, and I'm going to be making a batch of unsalted cultured vegetables today. The recipe you can find on my website, happybellies.net, and this is the type of cultured vegetables, probiotic food that you're going to be making when you go on the Body Ecology Diet with Donna Gates. I did that diet back in 2011, and I made this recipe because I could not get the ratios right ever, and I really needed things specific. And so this is great for stage 1, and it's the perfect recipe to start with. Okay, I have other recipes on my website for unsalted cultured vegetables, but this is a good one to start with. It's just 3 ingredients: green cabbage, carrots, culture starter, and water. And I do add in some dill seed. You don't have to. And that's it. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you want to do, well, I do, the first thing to have it just getting going, is you want to take your culture starter packet and pour it into a 1/4 cup of warm water. Mine has since gone a little bit cold, so I'm going to put a splash of hot water. This is the water that is basically just waking up your probiotics. You want to get it, this was a little too hot. You want to be able to stick your finger in there, drop it on your wrist. You don't want to feel it at all. That's body temperature. And then you pour your culture starter packet, which is full of little probiotics, into the water. And you do this at the beginning so that the beneficial organisms have time to wake up and get started. So it's not a must, but it's nice. Then I almost caught myself. So with unsalted cultured vegetables, everything needs to be sterilized because you're not using salt, which is usually what makes sure you get all the pathogens, not letting the pathogens get bigger. So what I do, what you can, here you can do is scald everything with boiling hot water, all of your equipment, your jars that you're using, your knife, your lids, your bowls, your food processor, like the lid, everything. You gotta scald it with hot boiling water. I did that twice and I'm like, I can't do this. It's too much work. And the other way you can do it is with food grade hydrogen peroxide. This is essential oxygen. I got it online. Amazon, wasn't expensive. I put it into a little spray bottle that I got at Rite Aid, and I label it. And I've already done my jars and everything, but I just grabbed a spoon from my silverware drawer to stir the probiotic starter. And even just something like this, you just want to, I'm sure it's fine, probably fine, but it doesn't hurt. I've gotten a little more relaxed with it with this bit over the years, and usually I get a good batch anyway, but sometimes I don't, and it's really nice to get a good batch. It's a lot of work, so it's effort and work. So just give them a good stir. I should have showed you what that looks like, but you'll know. It's just a white, really fine powder. It tastes a little sweet. You can buy them for about $24 on Body Ecology. And you get 6 packets, so you make 6 batches of cultured vegetables. Okay, there you go. That's it. Just leave it be. Put it somewhere where, somebody's not going to throw it out by accident. And just let it sit there. And then, what we're going to do, I printed out a recipe from my website, and I've already sterilized all the equipment. So the only thing I haven't done is, I think it was this jar, just because I knew I wanted to make sure I talked about it. This recipe calls for 6 quarts, about, maybe 6.5, 7, but typically about 6. And that's it, just done. And usually I do quart size. I don't usually do anything smaller than this. That's just me. Today I'm 2 jars short because I recently already made a batch of unsalted cultured vegetables, so I'm going to do a big jar as well. And so this is worth 2 quarts. 2 quarts. I'm pretty confident that I get a good batch, so I don't mind. You know, like sometimes people don't want to do too big because if you waste it, it's like too much. But I'm pretty good about that at this point. So all my vegetables have been washed, rinsed, you know, and the carrots are a little bit. You can tell like the skin is a little bit looks dirty, but it's not. I scrubbed it and then I used my knife and I took out any parts that looked at all funky. Just take them out. You don't need to have this bad bacteria, right? So just take it out. I don't get too anal about this part. I mean, you've got your probiotic starter, which is very potent and strong, and they can deal with a lot of things. So a little bit's not going to hurt it. Just do the best you can. Okay, so I'll show you the food processor. I use a KitchenAid. Nothing fancy. I got it at the thrift store. I don't love it. It kind of has a grinding sound if I grind too much, and I know that's not good. I'm in the thinking process of getting a new one. I'm just, you know, it's fine. It doesn't bother me that much. I use a medium grate for those that want to know. I've tried fine grade. I don't like it. It's too mushy for me. I don't like that taste. I like the texture of the medium grate. Everybody's different in that, so go with that. Okay, so this part is going to be a little bit loud. I'm just going to grate. But before I do that, I want to tell you, because I do tend to forget this, not anymore as much, but you want to reserve 12 ounces of outer cabbage leaves. So I've already done about 10 ounces is right here. This is for at the end. You are going to be, I mean, if you want to use little weights, if you have ceramic weights for your CV jars, great, use them, you know how to use them. But these are going to be what form your, the logs at the end to push, to keep the ground up vegetable matter submerged in the water, in the culture starter water. That's basically like you're mimicking little weights. So they're just going to be rolled up, and we'll do that at the end. You're just going to be making little cabbage logs to fit right in there under the lip. So I've already peeled off quite a few just to keep this part easy. It's super simple. You just take the outer leaf of, before you cut them to go into the grater, take off the outer leaves, weigh them. You want about 12 ounces. I have an Escalade scale. This is a good one. I like it. I've already weighed, so I'm not going to do that again. If you have any outside of your cabbage leaves, any wilted or brown spots or funky spots, cut them out. And or you can even just take off the entire leaf. Like if this was wilted, just compost it. Don't use it. You don't want to start with a low quality vegetable. Make it good. So, or you want the freshest part. So that's it. Boom. That's done. That part's done. So I just wanted to talk about that. So I will quickly cut the last of these cabbages. You're wanting about 8 pounds of cabbage, right? 7.5 to 8 pounds, I say. And then 2 to 2.5 pounds of carrots. I cut mine to size so that they fit into my food processor. So if you're doing it by hands or with a grater, like a shredder, which some people do, you don't have to do this part. but you want to cut it to size of your food processor if you're using one. This is organic cabbage. I am able to start with organic cabbage. I have it at my, I have it available to me. And if you don't have organic cabbage available to you, or organic vegetables in general, don't worry. Of course it's best as you're starting with more minerals and vitamins and a higher quality food to get a higher quality product at the end. But if you don't have it, don't sweat it, because the probiotics in here, they do so many great things, and one of those is to remove even heavy metals from your gut. And so if it can remove heavy metals, it can remove pesticide residue. So I'm going to start grinding. I think we talked about everything that needs to be talked about before that step. You have your jars ready, your lids ready, your probiotic starters ready, your vegetables are ready, you've got your logs rolled and ready, and that's it. You're ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to turn my thing on. It's going to be a little bit. That's the sound. Can't stand it. It's so loud. Okay. And then you have a beautiful cabbage. You just gonna empty it out, and you just gotta do that as many times as you gotta do that, depending on the size of your processor. Put it all back together again. I clean the lid a little bit. It tends to get stuck under there. You're ready to go. Carrots, which are easy. So I make a batch of cultured vegetables. We're a family of 4, and I'll speak for myself. I eat this food every day. It's rare that I miss a day for the last 8 years. And I eat them every meal. Sometimes if in the morning, sometimes if I'm in a rush or just not feeling it, then I won't. But typically I just feel like my meal's not complete without that sour, the sour taste that these bring. And I just feel better. I can't even tell you how much better I feel than when I first did this. I did a video making this unsalted cultured vegetables back when I first started, and so you might see the difference. So, and that's it. You just keep grinding until you're done. So the grinding's done. Beautiful. And you're going to put in, if you would like, you can put in the recipe that I made up. The beginner recipe has about 1.5 tablespoons of dill seed. That's it. I mean, you really don't need so much because it's going to become more potent as it ferments. And then you want 2 to 3 cups of liquid. I'm just going to start with, I'll put about 1 cup in here. And then give that a stir. And then I'm going to take 1/3 of this mixture, about, roughly. The probiotics are not in here, by the way. They're not in here yet. I'm going to take about 1/3 of this mixture and put it into, I've already washed this and put food grade hydrogen peroxide in there. It's clean. It averages out to be about a third. I just fill my Vitamix. Maybe it's not a third, maybe it's a quarter, but I fill my Vitamix pretty much to about 3/4 full. And then I add in about 1.5 cups of liquid. So this is your slurry. You're just breaking it down for the probiotics to be able to have something to eat quickly in the jars as they begin to multiply and grow. So having this is just instant food for them. The more broken it down, the easier it is to digest for them. So that's what we're doing. I didn't get it all, it's fine. You just want to do a basic blend. And then you're going to add that into your bowl, the big bowl. If you don't have a Vitamix, that's fine. I actually used to never use my Vitamix because I didn't have one. I used my food processor for this part, and I just switched out to the S-Blade so that I pureed it. And I filled it, I think, twice to do that, to get enough. Some people don't do this part at all. Some people fine grate a little bit of their cabbage for this part. Just do whatever is easy for you. Okay, now you can add your probiotics. I don't know. I mean, to be kind to the probiotics, it seems weird to blend them into the blender, you know. So I just leave that part till later. And then you just want to get in there. You can use the spoons. I use my hands. And just mix everything together. You really are just wanting to spread out all the probiotics. And distribute the carrot and the celery seed or dill seed. This is dill seed. Celery seed might be a little strong. Some people like to add garlic, ginger. Just go slow, take it easy, or follow a recipe, because it really, like garlic gets magnified big time when it ferments. So just know that it's a kicker if you use it. I used it once, and I decided to use it for other things in my cooking and not in my cultured vegetables. But some people really love it. Okay. That's good. So, you have your jars ready. A funnel. I make a little bit of a mess when I do this. Let me put this up here for you guys to see. Okay, so I use a cutting. I just work on this purple board just to keep anything that falls on a sterilized, clean space. Do what works for you. And then you're just going to fill your jar. Okay. This might be a little hard for me to do because I'm reaching up high to do this so you can see it. But you're really wanting to, if your fist fits, use your hand, it's easiest. You could also use a potato masher if your hand's too big, or if you prefer not to touch the food. Just as long as your hand's clean though and it fits, use it. And then you want to put in all your weight. It's hard for me to do it from down here, but you're going to exert yourself. Your arm is going to be sore. You basically are forcing out all of the air pockets. Because where there's an air pocket, then it's easier for pathogens to hide out in there and grow where there's air, right? So you want to force out all those air pockets so they don't have anywhere to go to hide. And it will also be less pressurized in the end product. Like it won't expand as much because there's not as much breathing space in there. So as much as you can push it down, do that. And then, oops. Again, it's a little funny angle for me to work at, so it's messier than normal. And then you want to keep filling. So you want about 1.5 inches of headspace before your log is put on. I keep paper towels close by. I don't use my kitchen towels because my kitchen towels are funky, but and then I take my kitchen ruler because I don't do good at eyeballing measurements like this. And even after all these years, I still use a ruler. I'm not just doing it for you guys. I still use a ruler because I do really love having cultured vegetables that come out that actually work. And I have, they don't get messed up in the process. So if you don't have enough expansion room, then the jar could, the lid, usually it's just the lid. I've had a jar crack on me. It didn't explode. You don't have to worry. I've never had that happen. But because I didn't leave enough expansion room, it expanded the top and it pushed the top up, and I lost my product because it rusted and it was just a mess. So you do want to make sure you have the right amount of space on the top. That's 1.5 inches. Paper towels are great also for wiping your rims. Okay, that's 1.5 inches. You're going to take, look, we still have the one I rolled earlier. You're going to take it, you want to make a nice thick log. Basically what you're wanting is you're wanting to slip it under the lip of the mason jar, right under there. You want to get it firmly lodged in place, like that. And then you can see that the liquid isn't risen that much. You want the liquid to just cover the cabbage. Alright, so we have our jar. I'm going to clean off the rim. Just get all the vegetable pieces off of there because you want the lid to get on nice and tight there. And if you have any vegetable hanging out on the rim, it will prevent the lid from sealing properly. Do that. And then you make a log with your cabbage roll. I like to put 2 together. I feel like it just makes a sturdier log. Some people just do 1 and then 1 side by side. I like to just do 1 nice big log. Get it under there. Make sure you want to make sure it's in there nice and tight. Yep, that looks great. See? And then that can use just a little bit more liquid. So I'm going to, you just want to barely cover that roll. You don't want to cover it all the way. That will just be too much liquid. Alright, clean it off one more time. There we go. And then again, just, these lids I've already washed and hydrogen peroxide them, but just give them a good look. Make sure there's not any vegetable matter in there that is spilled while you've been working. And then the way I best describe it is you stick it on, turn it a little bit, turn it one more time. That's it. You don't need to be tightening it too much. Just a nice firm, polite tightness. So then you have 2 jars ready to go. You're going to want to rinse the outside just because it's going to be sitting for a few days. You don't want there to be mold to grow. So rinse them off. You got 2 beautiful jars right there, almost ready to go. And let's do this one. So same thing, just make sure there's enough liquid on top. Okay. Wipe your rim. You know, it's not as it's the same amount of work, I think, than to making salty sauerkraut. It's just a little bit more attentive to the details. Okay, check your lid. No bumps. Put it on. Once again. That's it. Give it a rinse. You can label them. I have all these little labels. I tend to label mine after. Sometimes not at all. But if you want to put the date or the type, you know, this is the beginner recipe, aka garden blend, to you. And then this is my extra big jar, my half-gallon jar. So this typically makes 6 quarts. You can see I've got 3 quarts here, 2 here, so that's 5. Usually I'd have a 6th, but in all the recording of this video, I didn't grate 3 huge carrots. So I decided just to keep going, and I'll just have 1 less jar. That's fine. But you will typically get 6 quarts. Sometimes a little bit more. And if you have a little bit extra that's not fitting into the main jars, then you can just stick it into a smaller pint mason jar or a 1-cup mason jar, and that's it. Nothing fancy. So you're really pushing down there. This is, I'm a righty, so every now and then I like to switch arms because I can get really sore. Okay, so that's pretty tight. Feels good. This one's going to have more liquid than the others, it seems. Okay, so 1.5 inches. And then you're going to take your rolls, stick it in. Feeling like that one can use 1 more. Sometimes if it just doesn't feel tight enough, do another one. You just, you're not looking to seal off any air or anything. You're just wanting to hold everything in place. You'll get a feel. After you make this a couple times, you'll get a feel. This is not working. in the beginning, and even now, sometimes I forget to make these leaves or reserve them, and then I don't have any more cabbage to grab the leaves from. If that happens to you, you can also use kale leaves, you can use collard leaves, and again, you can also use porcelain weights. You can buy little weights. I personally prefer this method to that, but there you go. It's nice and tight. Oops. That's too much liquid, so I'm pouring some of that off because, again, you just want it to cover. Okay? Then, making a bit of a mess. It's all right. Clean your rim. I buy these quite often. I also make cultured vegetables quite often, but you get them at the hardware store and online. You don't want to use rusted out seals. So these tend to last longer than this part. So either I'll just put these on like my dry grain jars the rust won't bother, or I just toss them. But I do go through these every 2 or 3 batches. I tend to get new rims. So, whoops, I just want to show you. That's a brand new rim. It's nice. That's it. And then one and tighten. And then rinse it. Look at that. That's beautiful. Again, don't do the big jars until you have a good feel for it. Just, I recommend staying small. That's it. So, how beautiful those are. This would last our family about 2 or 3 weeks. Now, the next step is to incubate them, and if you have a warm spot in your house, about 70 to 72 degrees, great. Some people put them on near the furnace. It really needs to be a consistent 70 to 72. If it drops too much below or too high, then you're looking at possibly spoiling your batch, because either if it's too cold, the probiotics won't get going, and it can, the other bacteria can take over and it will spoil. If it's too hot, they get going too fast, and it almost over ferments, and you get kind of a gooey, slimy, doesn't taste good product. So the steadier the better. We live in Vermont where it's not steady, 70 to 72. It drops quite a bit in the nighttime. And so we have, my husband made an incubator kit out of a dorm fridge. So that's what I'm going to put mine in. You might not have that. It's a real luxury, definitely. When I first started, I used a space heater in my bathroom, in the small bathroom that I had, and I used a thermometer so I could, maintain the temperature. That didn't work very well for obvious reasons, but then I used a cooler with a seed mat and put the jars on top of it and closed it with a thermometer. But again, it was hard to always get it steady if the outside temperatures change too much. So then we came up with these dorm fridge incubator kits, and email me if you'd like to know how to make those. We also sell what's called oven incubator kits online on happybellies.net. My husband came up with that, and they're created to turn your oven or a cardboard box or a cooler into a very steady, consistent little incubator, and keeps them really cozy and warm. It uses a light bulb as a heat source, and it has a regulator in there. So I highly recommend it. So helpful. I don't have one right now to show you, so I just tell you that you can go online and check that out. So I'm going to go ahead and put them into here, and I'm setting that at 70 to 72. That's it. And then I close that up, and you are, okay, on my recipe I say culture vegetables for 3 to 10 days in a dark warm spot, 70 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. I personally like mine at day 5, 6, or 7. I don't take them out until then. Again, I have a really consistent temperature, so I'm not worried about them. They're in there, they're doing well. What was I going to say? What I do is sometimes the liquid, as it expands, as the probiotics start growing, the vegetables will start expanding, and the juice, some of the juice might come out of the seals if they're not sealed properly, or if they're getting old or rusted or anything. And sometimes they just expand and the juice comes out. I do tend to that, so I do check them every day or two, and I'll take a little paper towel and clean around the base so that it doesn't otherwise grow fuzzy mold. So you might find that is a problem for you too. So if you put them somewhere, either contain them in a cooler. If you put them in a cardboard box, you want to put them inside of like a stainless steel tray or something to catch that liquid that can come out. And I think that's it. You can find a ton more information about this on my website, or on the Body Ecology website, in the Body Ecology book. And feel free to ask questions if you have it. And may all bellies be happy.